everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fpla. Today I'm going to be showing you how to manage a strategy to get into the top 100k overall rank. So firstly, if you do like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on Fpla on Twitter. Okay, so hopefully you had a decent game week 5, and I'm sure some of you had some brilliant game week 5s, and some of you might have been quite disappointed. As you can see, my score so far for game week 5 is at 56 points. My overall rank, this is not updated yet, it's showing at about 162k, but that will come slightly better. I think it's about 152k. From a points perspective, I had one good choice that I definitely made, and that was in Mo Salah captaining him. He was probably the best captaincy option out of the premiums. Ronaldo was pretty decent, but only had one goal, whereas Mo Salah had a goal as well as an assist. Jota was actually quite disappointing. He fluffed one or two chances with the goal beckoning. Greenwood, another disappointing performance, but he played quite well. Bamford was quite decent. That was the transfer that I made, so happy with his 5-pointer. And then we've got White, another great steady Arsenal defensive return there. That's 2 weeks in a row. Williams was disappointing. He managed to get a grand total of 0 points. And then with everybody trying to go for Wolves defense, I'm glad I just went for one Wolves defender. Marcel came in with 1 point. And then the big disappointment was on the bench. We had Alexander-Arnold, who unfortunately never started, and it was not a COVID-related incident apparently, but due to falling ill on the day. So hoping that he starts the next match. And then Torres was another disappointment, who never started. So I'm hoping he either starts the next game or I might potentially transfer him out. And then Antonio, I kept him, so he's fit and ready for the next game. That's hopefully going to be a good matchup. So overall, if I just have a look at my score and what's happened, I've had a red arrow. So that's obviously disappointing, but just keep in mind, this is just one game week on its own. You can't have all the players for every game week. You can't have all the top players, as well as you are going to have the odd red arrow. Very rarely does anybody get lots of green arrows in a row, and it's probably impossible to get every single game week a green arrow. So this, if there was a game week to get a red arrow, this one it's probably not too bad. So now what we need to do is, how can we maximize the way going forward? Okay, so firstly, what I just want to show you, what you'll see on screen here, this is a website by the name of livefpl.net, where you can see your live rank. This is another option. Some people might be familiar with Fantasy Football Fix. That's quite a good app. This website has actually got quite a few extra functions that you can utilize, including bringing in the post subs or the bench players ahead of the last match. That, as well as lots of other functionality. So for this game week, my safety score was 62, meaning that I needed another 6 more points from my 56 in order to prevent a rank drop. So that's actually quite good to know. And then off the 100k, I'm basically 5 points off the 100k, so 5 points, that's not much. And then off 10k, it's about 26 points. That's also not really much. So just to show you, this app actually puts everything into perspective, or rather this website, livefpl.net. I would strongly recommend that you try to access it, and there's lots of things that you can plan on here. Okay, so then moving on to my strategy going forward. So how I like to look at it is, I like to look at it in terms of a few matches in advance. So looking at the next few matches, and I think let's go to the calendar to see what's happening next. So we've got game week 6, where we've got a strong matchup in terms of two Premier teams, Chelsea and Manchester City. So anything can go there. We've got Man United against Aston Villa. You'd probably expect Man United to win. You've got Everton playing Norwich, you probably expect Everton to win. Leeds versus West Ham, that should be quite an interesting match. Leeds playing at home, so you never know what they could do. But then there's West Ham that have been in terrific form recently. And then we've got Leicester against Burnley. Probably Leicester, but Leicester's not being firing on all cylinders. And then you've got Watford against Newcastle. So Watford played pretty decently in Gameweek 5, albeit that they played against a weakish Norwich team. But this one I think would also probably be quite close. And then we've got Brentford against Liverpool. So quite interesting year. Brentford's playing at home, and Brentford defensively are looking quite solid. They've got quite a few difficult fixtures coming up, but after those difficult fixtures, I might be considering some Brentford defenders. They do look pretty strong defensively. They might not have necessarily the strong attacking returns, but clean sheet wise and defending wise, they look pretty good so far at least. Then we've got Southampton versus Wolves. So Southampton had a terrific performance against Man City, coming in with a 0-0 draw, absolutely magnificent, and that was playing away, and this is at home. So this will be quite interesting to see how this pans out. And then Wolves had quite a disappointing game in Gameweek 5. So yeah, so this result is quite interesting. And then we've got the London derby, Arsenal versus Spurs. And with Harry Kane yet to score in 5 game weeks, is this the game that Harry Kane is likely to score? He's known to have scored in quite a few past Arsenal derbies. So this could be the one that, if you're taking a punt, Harry Kane could be the one that you could. However, I've got to warn you that Spurs are not looking very good. It's something about just the team not gelling together. It could be the coach Nuno that might not have adapted the team to his style and vice versa. So it's not probably the best idea to get in Spurs players at this point in time, but if you are really behind in your mini leagues, then going for Harry Kane is probably not the worst punt that you could take. But besides him, I wouldn't really go to any other Spurs player. And then lastly, we've got Crystal Palace against Brighton. Crystal Palace looking also quite an exciting team. They've turned a bit more into an attacking force compared to previously when they were a more defensive team. With the new coach Vieira looking quite good in terms of attacking output. And Brighton on the other side, they defensively quite a good team. So it's going to be Brighton's defense against Crystal Palace's attack. Okay, so in terms of the team that I've got in mind, so I'm just going to show you game week 7. So the reason why I've looking at game week 7 is you'll see that from game week 7, there's quite a few fixtures after that Chelsea have actually got that looks actually quite good. And I'll show that to you soon. Let me just go to, let me see, where's that? Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the next few games that we've actually got coming up. This is all on livefpl.net. So as you can see, Chelsea, sea of green fixtures over there. That's unbelievable. So if you just focus on Chelsea and planning your transfers in terms of Chelsea, that actually could be quite good. I would strongly recommend that you try to focus on Chelsea players. Okay, if I can just get the sticker a little bit over onto the other side, that would be great. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is also one of the features that you can do in Live FPL. You can actually see all the teams' fixtures. So if you're just looking at it, Leeds has also got quite a good run. Then you've got Liverpool have got mixed fixtures. Man City have got mixed fixtures. Man United also, you probably want to get rid of them. Newcastle won't really go much into them, but Alan Maximum, if Callum Wilson is out, it's not a bad punt. He does sometimes sort of appear to be a player similar to Rahore, but if I had to choose between the two at this point, I'd probably choose Alan Maximum. Norwich, if you really want a massive punt, then probably somebody like Pookie, but I probably won't encourage that. And then Spurs, as I said, probably stay away unless you're going for Harry Kane. Watford are quite interesting if you really want to fill your team up with some budget players up front. There is Dennis, who looks quite a decent player. And then the man on fire, that's Ismaila Sarr. He looks in terrific form. He's quite a bit of goal threat. He's got penalties, I believe, as well. So he's somebody that I'm strongly considering. West Ham, we know Antonio is definitely the main man to have, and then other players that you could consider also could be Ben Rama. And then Wolves. Wolves fixtures are looking also pretty decent if they can just hit into the proper gear that they need to, because they are looking a little bit lacking confidence, and Jimenez is looking a bit not in the form that we know he could be, but all it takes is probably just one goal. So Jimenez is one player that you can definitely consider for those runner fixtures over there. Okay, so if I go back to the team that I'm trying to build now, I'm trying to build a team for game week 7. So I'm just keeping the big picture in mind. So as you can see, I have swapped out Lukaku in for Ronaldo. So that's quite an interesting one. The only reason I've done that is I could get potentially an extra million out of that, and I could fund the rest of my team to upgrade. Looking at Antonio Rudiger, who looks in sublime form. He's one of the most solid and nailed-on defenders in the Chelsea team, so I'd strongly recommend him. And then Alonso, at the start of the season, many people thought he was hardly going to play and it's going to be Chilwell. In actual fact, it's been the other way around. And not only has he actually been playing, but he's been playing brilliantly. I was just watching where he was positioning himself today quite a bit, and he was definitely getting quite far up the pitch as well. And he's taken quite a few shots on goal as well, so there's definitely some goal threat there. So don't be surprised if Alonso scores in the next few weeks. He had an assist today as well, so besides his clean sheet, he definitely scored quite well. Let's just have a look at Alonso in terms of, let's look at his fixtures first. That he's played. He scored 15 points, 6 points, 2 points, 5 points, 10 points, 38 points. That's absolutely brilliant. As far as I'm aware, I think he is the top scoring defender in Fpla at this point. So the question is, why would you not want him? And if you look at those fixtures coming up there, the sea of green, besides this Man City one that's next, is definitely should be in many people's teams going forward if you are looking for some solid points. The only thing to consider is if there is any form of rotation. Just make sure that you've got a defender or two on the bench that could potentially play in his absence. The one that I am looking for to potentially play if Alonso does not play is Livramento. So Livramento would be my first sub in. And then the other player that's looking in sublime form is Ismaila Sarr. Just looking at his points, 9, 2, 2, 2, 2, 15. So he's not some player that at 6.1 million you can expect to score every single game. Keep in mind he's playing for Watford, but he's most likely a bit mismatched for the team. He could do better in another team. So if there's anybody that's likely to score, it's most likely going to be Ismaila Sarr, because everything goes through him, and he's potentially on penalties as well. Looking at his fixtures, Newcastle and Leeds looking brilliant. Liverpool's a tough one, but remember what he did previously when Watford were in the Premier League against Liverpool. He had a brilliant match. Then there's Everton, there's Southampton, Arsenal. That's probably not too a bad match. And then there's a couple of red fixtures in there. So I would say probably until game week 11, he's quite a decent shout to have. And yeah, so that definitely gives you some good striking force up front. Okay, so that's basically the main players that I would recommend bringing in. As you can see, by bringing these players in, this gives me a 12-point hit, so I'm definitely not going to take a 12-point hit. The minus 0.1 is not necessarily a problem. Potentially, there might be a price rise for Ronaldo, that's currently my team, that could offset Lukaku to be in if his price doesn't go up, which could mean that I could fit these players in. If not, Alonso could potentially become somebody like James, or Rudiger could be somebody like Christensen, but I'm tentative to go with Christensen. I think Rudiger is my #1 pick. And then overall, if you just have a look at how the team is spread, this is a pretty solid team. The only team that's not covered in here in terms of the top positions on the league would be Man City, but at this stage, many teams, FPL teams, are avoiding Man City players because of the Pep Roulette, and also they don't necessarily have the best fixtures or currently necessarily on a massive streak that you can say you definitely want their players in, or any specific players from them that's hauled and played consistently. So for now, Chelsea and Liverpool players are the mainstay of this team, with a little bit of Manchester United sprinkled in, some Watford players, West Ham and Leeds as well, and don't forget the Brighton goalkeeper. And then just lastly to mention from one player that if I probably would like to get rid of him, but it's probably a bit more of a luxury, is Williams. At this stage, Duffy is definitely outscoring him. He had another assist in today's match, but it might be a little bit tight to actually get him in from a funds perspective, so I might just stick with him for now, and then if an opportunity comes up in future. But just bear in mind that Duffy is definitely a good pick. If you do want to bring him in, his price might potentially go up this evening. So let's just go to then the price predictor. This is all from Fantasy Football Fixes website. As you can see, Ronaldo potentially going up, Duffy potentially going up, and Salah, as well as Sanchez, the goalkeeper, Diaz, Livramento, Saint Maximum, and Gray. So I forgot to mention Gray. Gray is also a brilliant pick. I would possibly bring in Gray instead of Saar as well. So that's probably a toss-up between the two. But if you're looking at the fixture, Gray definitely playing against Norwich. But if you're looking at more longer-term, Saar, because overall Saar would probably outscore Gray. But just one match on its own, I'd say Gray. Okay, just keep in mind that these price rises are not confirmed, and if there are wildcards that are included in here, then that does not impact on it, which could then stifle and delay these price rises. Okay, so that's what you can check out. And then another website that you could check out would be fplstatistics.co.uk, and this gives you further price rises and drops. I like to always double check this as well, and sometimes this is a bit more accurate than Fantasy Football Fix. Not always, sometimes the other way around, but I like to look at the commonalities between the two. So as you can see, Ronaldo most likely going up, Salah most likely going up, Livramento most likely going up, and then close to increases, so it depends if it is 100% or more. And then we've got Sanchez and Duffy. So Duffy is not yet there, but the sticker indicates how fast they are moving. So perhaps Duffy might not go up tonight, might go up tomorrow. Okay, and then that's the rest of the players. And if you just click on top, you can sort by drops to see who the top players that are dropping. Okay, and then lastly, just to come back to what my plan is. So using livefpl.net, you'd be able to manage a transfer. So this is my current team. I've already plugged in my potential transfers for the next few game weeks. This is kind of all just mock transfers. It doesn't really happen, but it happens in here so that you can try to manage it. So as it's refreshing, this is potentially my next week's team. As you can see, I'd like to bring in Saar, I'd like to bring in Rudiger, and I've got James in here in the meantime. The only reason is it hasn't factored in the price rise. It shows as my budget remaining zero, but if I get the benefit of Ronaldo's price increase, I could bump up James to Alonso for that extra 0.1. Okay, so this is quite nice. Besides the fixture ticker that you can see, you can save your team, you can change your bench order. It actually gives you fantastic options. So potentially what I could do is I could roll my transfer, and I could then have 2 free transfers in the next game, okay? Which means that what I could potentially do is I could take a Rudiger in, White out. I could take James instead of Marshall. I could put in Saar instead of Torres, and Lukaku instead of Ronaldo. So if you just count it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 transfers, okay? However, I've got 2 free. So it's actually a -8, okay? It's not a -16, okay? This -16 is somehow not updated yet because this it's factoring in something else I've done on the actual website as well. But this will actually reflect as a -8. So I'm prepared to potentially take a hit in game week 7 to maximize the Chelsea players that I'd like to get in, and those would be long haulers. So they will definitely give you massive points going forward. Even if the odd one doesn't play for a certain match, you could still rely on your bench, and you could always bump up your bench. Okay, so that's basically what my plan is going forward. I'll come out with another video sometime this week to confirm which option I'll go for, if I have made any early transfers, potentially not, and if I do decide to roll my transfer. If I do decide to roll my transfer, then my team will most likely look something like this, hoping then on Torres to score against Chelsea, because I think he might possibly play. And then overall at the back, I'm just hoping for a clean sheet from White and Martial. So that's it from me. Please not forget to subscribe and like this video, as well as not to forget to follow us on Twitter at FPLA+. Thank you very much. Cheerio.